today, as always, on this beautiful Friday morning.
Thursday afternoon for me here in Canada. Love how you were able to interpret the future for us. Let us know what's coming down the pipeline with COVID. This is fantastic. As always, Josh and I are here today on a weekly Grow Your Tour Biz session. We're the co-creators of the 7-Figure Tour Business Program. Today's topic is inspiration for a 60-day cash campaign. Now, this is probably not the first time that you've thought about, holy cow, how do I generate revenue? And maybe even how do I generate revenue quickly? But we're going to talk through this notion of a campaign and almost like getting your entire business to focus on this one thing for a limited period of time. And often, Josh, that gets the creative juices going.
It does indeed, because one of the things that I've learned over the journey, and a lot of times the hard way, Kelsey, is that cash equals momentum. So it's the fastest and most effective way to get momentum, and then momentum is what I guess equals growth. And if you want to grow, then if you want momentum, there's only two ways you can really do it. There's hustle, and there's only so much hustling that we can all do, and the alternative is cash. So how do you accumulate as much cash in your business as quickly as possible? Now, this is not a business model. Like this is not the way.
That's a great point.
Yeah. It is a short, sharp campaign. You may decide to implement this regularly as a part of a greater business model, but this is a way not to fill your pockets with. It's a way to generate cash that you can invest back into your business to grow more quickly.
A super quick example of people who were almost forced into this, Josh. I was having a conversation with someone the other day from Devour Tours. So they run food tours across Spain. Hey, Steve. Morning, gents. Steve and Julia here. Wonderful morning down on the Sunshine Coast as well. Welcome, guys. So we're just talking about how Devour Tours, it was actually really rough for the way that the pandemic hit in Spain, because everything closed down. But the way that their labor system works is that you had to give 2 weeks of pay to anyone that you were letting go. But essentially the law had come down and said, hey, you can't operate. So they actually had this massive payroll where they had a lot of people who were still essentially working for them, but not in the roles that they were working. So for them, this idea of a cash campaign, what is it that we can do as a team to generate as much revenue as possible in the short term? And so in today's session, we're going to talk about ideas. Just as a sneak peek for Devour, they came up with this idea of the digital cookbook. Hey, we've got guides who lead food tours from all across Spain. They came together, they worked on it and launched an online cookbook. They sold for 19 euros, predominantly to their client list, their past customers, their past leads. And out of that, over a couple months, they were able to generate 13,000 euros. So just a great example of what we're talking about. A really focused. They're not getting into the business of selling digital cookbooks, but they're getting into the business of a campaign to generate
accumulating cash that you can reinvest into your business to fuel the growth that you need. And this is a really timely exercise, and it's something, especially when your chips are down, and a lot of businesses, especially tours, activities, revenues and sales are down. And it's a really great time to be able to be, getting yourself in pole position when that race restarts, and to do that, to be able to generate a chunk of cash that you can continue to see your business grow and evolve in a tricky time when maybe others aren't doing that as well as you plan to.
Totally. One thing to flag quickly, the most obvious, we've talked about it in some previous sessions. We're not going to go deep today, but that first step, as many of you have done, is that cost cutting measure. That's one of the best ways to keep the cash from leaving the business in the first place. So costs to keep, costs to cut, costs to defer, costs to negotiate, like negotiating with your insurance provider, negotiating with somebody who's providing you a particular service, rent, et cetera, et cetera. We've talked a lot about that. So know that that's important, even though we're not going to cover it today.
Yeah, exactly right. So where do you want to start with this, Kelsey? This a way that
the notion of the 60-day cash campaign. What I love about some of the examples that you're going to share when you did this in your business is you really started it as a team meeting, right? This wasn't just you going into your office, closing the door, right? So that's a great place to start.
Yeah, 100%. And you mentioned that, getting the team involved. I've always found we did this on a couple of occasions in the lead up to the time that we were taking our business to market, and we wanted our revenue to look as impressive as possible and our bottom line to look as impressive as possible. So the way that we did it was that we got everyone in the business involved, and people get excited about it. They feel like they're a part of something. They get they really buy in, and they feel like that their thoughts and opinions are valued, even if it's some of the best ideas that you extract from your people, and not ideas that you think should traditionally come from someone in that role. So it's a really, really great idea. And the way I did it is that I announced that we will be going to be embarking on a 60-day cash campaign next week. We're going to be in the boardroom. We're going to come armed with ideas. We're going to throw them on the table. We're going to workshop them all. And once we leave that room, we're going to come out of it with the loose framework of a strategy. And people got really excited about it, and they had an opportunity to really kind of put some thought into it over the week, and come armed with ideas. So I've always found that the best ideas, it's the old adage, and it's something that I mentioned in the past. I had quite a lot of limitations in business, but what I did try to do was always be a listener, a learner, kind of like the dumbest person in the room, and not think that I was the one who was going to be providing the solutions all the time. And I was always initially surprised by the ideas that flew around me that I just never would have thought of myself, never would have imagined. But I got to know that was where the real magic happened, from the people around you that you empower to come and share their ideas and thoughts. So that's one, certainly one thing. So
I think you started one of the many ways we can explore this, because in many ways, I'll post the link here, but if you are interested in learning more about how to create an online tour or experience and learn from a bunch of people who've done that as a way to quickly sort of pivot and serve customers, you can learn more about our virtual tour business program. There's over 240 people enrolled, and they're doing things really creative ways to get cash coming in. And I love using the example of Gary Lintern. A lot of people come into this notion of online tours like, what is this? How can I translate what I'm doing online? Look, it's just not going to work. Look, Gary Lintern from over the UK photography tour, he runs photography tours. He wasn't able to do that. But Josh, one of the things that we can focus on, and this doesn't necessarily mean you have to pivot to digital or online, but focus on your past customers, the people that you have served already. And Gary said, well, what can I do that can help them out, that can solve a problem that they might enjoy or be inspired by? And he came up with the notion of a camera club, a digital camera club. So people had come on his tour, he'd given them some tips. They've had some great experiences. They're like, wow, Gary's a real stand-up guy. My shots have really improved from that. So he offered this. He created a virtual camera club. He did it quickly. It was the same sort of thing. We want to generate cash quickly, but he came up with this idea of a monthly reoccurring revenue model. So it was only like £13 a month to join. He launched it, and within 24 hours, he had created almost £1,000 a month reoccurring revenue for him. And that was after 24 hours. And you better believe that he's now out and has tons more people in that going. So it doesn't necessarily have to be an online tour, but it's a great example of doing something that you highlight, Josh, which is focus on your past customers.
Exactly. So it's I guess the first thing I would say is try to avoid that scattergun approach where you're just going to you get this thing out there and you're going to sort of see what sticks, and you're going to try and find new customers. That's something that I would recommend against. You're far, far, far more likely, very, very quickly, to make money or sell stuff to different to groups of people, such as past customers, or current customers, or customers that have booked for a future departure or tour activity, past leads or inquiries that didn't convert, or live leads, inquiries that are yet to convert, and they just need that little extra incentive to, to pull out their credit card and commit, or your audience. So if you've been building an audience, if you've got it could be a small or a larger audience that you're sharing regular content with, they're getting familiar with you, they're getting comfortable with you, and they're on your list, and you're providing value to them. That's where you're going to have your greatest level of success selling stuff to. So
it boils back down to that simple notion in marketing, which is the greatest cost is the cost to acquire a new customer, because you have to really take them through the entire journey of, who are you trustworthy? What sort of problems do you solve? Do I even have those problems? Am I aware of them? Etc. We were all familiar with that. And that cost is substantially greater. Whereas somebody who is already convinced that, wow, this person can solve my problems. I've already had a great experience with them. They're already down the funnel.
On that note as well, a lot of people will come back to me and say, but I don't solve a problem. Well, okay. So what you need to look at is there a pleasure or a desire that people aren't having satiated, or is there a problem that you can solve? So, if you're not thinking about it as a problem, am I solving it? Am I finding a solution to a problem? Think about some kind of level of desire, pleasure, or some kind of desire that people have that isn't being satiated. You could probably argue that is a problem.
Well, totally. And this is another way to think about it, is just like, if you already have that, well, this is what I do for people and people who want this. But you can usually flip that around and look at it from the other side. Like, it's really challenging to know what to do as a family when I'm visiting the Sunshine Coast. It's really challenging to know what bike rides. I know we've got Velaru here, like what bike rides to do. I love cycling and I love seeing new places, but the logistics and figuring out what roads to ride, like all those things are challenges or problems that you're solving for people. And so like a non-digital, a non-online example is really these campaigns around gift certificates, booking discounts. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Because you actually did this for your business, and I think
exactly. So just lastly on that note, we've identified a bunch of different sort of segments: past customers, current customers with future departures, past leads or inquiries, live leads or inquiries that haven't converted yet, that are sitting on it, they're mulling it over, or your audience who likes your content and getting to like, know, and trust you. So to really succeed, you would again need to think of specific offers or promotions to each of those specific groups, because an offer or promotion to a current customer is going to be very different to, if it's going to be successful or effective, is going to be different to an offer that you present to your audience or to a live lead or an inquiry. So you really need to get it, again, more granular, rather than just identify all those groups of people that have some level of familiarization or some level of trust in what you do, and push an offer out to all of them. Get more specific. So, these are by no means ideas that may, very much business specific, but and the idea is that people would come. It's not for us to give you the ideas for you to run with, but to get people together that are generating ideas specific to your business. But gift certificates with a booking discount and like an extended term of use is one obvious and simple and easily created offer or promotion.
And just to highlight here, maybe you've done this in the past, but the whole notion like a campaign, Josh, I think that's it too. Like this is something that we're going to do for a short period of time, and we're really going to focus all of our energy and effort around driving the results of that campaign. And so if it is gift certificate based, then let's try and make it like have a big splash. So, put a lot of thought around the marketing, how we're getting the word out. Maybe it's not spending a whole lot of money. Obviously the point here is to get more than we're taking in by a pretty big margin, but that's where some of that hustle can come in. That's going to be like really targeted ad spending, that sort of stuff.
Exactly, or reaching out through networks. I mean, there's affiliate. You mentioned Gary Linton over in the UK, an affiliate relationship. He's been really good at implementing those, incentivizing people to promote or share your offering. So a campaign, one of the things, because tour operators, run great tours, but they might generally are not great marketers. It's very hard to have every skill set. So a campaign is not creating a gift certificate, having someone present it on your website, and then sitting back and rubbing your hands together, waiting for the cash register to start ringing, because you're not going to sell like that. That is not a campaign. A campaign is a concentrated effort where you get creative about the way that you're going to position and promote your offer, and so it takes and offering those that fear of missing out, offering that short that short time incentive or push for people to actually get up and take action. All these things together comprise a campaign that's going to be the most effective way for you to sell things. So special offers with bonus inclusions, or it might be a range of, if you're running a campaign to current customers, a range of experience enhancers or upsells for bookings that you're already holding. People that who have booked or might be holding a gift certificate. Well, what kind of experience enhancer or upsell, something really tantalizing that has them say, it makes sense for me to spend more money with you. It just makes sense. So,
another great way. I'm just in obviously a very online digital goods space, because we're working with all these people in the program, and I'm blown away by their creativity. But imagine, Josh, let's say we have a whole bunch of people that have like partial deposits, or you had a campaign early on where you said, hey, if you leave the money in the business with us, it would mean the world to us, of course, but here are some extra incentives. When we're thinking about how we can go back and serve these our current customers or people who are probably your fans, how can we go back and offer something to them, not for free, but charge a fee for it? And so what comes to my mind certainly is, in the case of like a multi-day operator, I know a lot of those people still have deposits for those upcoming trips, but I think it applies just as well to single day operators. If you have that group of people, we can say, hey, we plan on doing like a seminar series, or we're going to do X, Y, or Z. These are online events. We're going to make them awesome. We're going to do. And really, basically by going back to those people who are already customers of yours, you're going to be able to quickly generate some cash. So in that context, we're talking about, yes, these are people who we already have their contact information. They know and love us. Let's go back and really figure out what would excite them, what would motivate them. And what we highlight in the virtual tour business program is you really want to survey those folks. You can come up with an idea, but asking them if they want to participate, but testing is the biggest thing, Josh, like we're saying. So Gary's whole idea was he wanted to test a few different clubs, some monthly memberships. That one happened to click great, but if it didn't, then it's like, okay, after a week, cancel that. We're going to try another one. He actually has launched a virtual astronomy club too. He sent me a message that said he actually got someone from NASA to come on and join this astronomy club, because he does astronomy tours. And so it's with that creativity, you could do all kinds of really neat, really neat things.
And that's it. And if you approach it like this, you rub your hands together and say, guys, okay, let's get into it. We're in the meeting, boom, let's get these ideas flying. Oh, sorry, I just forgot to mention, we have no budget, zero budget. Okay, so if you approach it like that, people will laugh and they'll, it's motivating. It's a challenge, so you've got to get lean, got to get creative. And the other thing that I was just going to mention is something that has just eluded me, but
no worries. I had this idea of getting creative about giving back too. So any way that, people in your communities and local environments, they, wherever you might be, there are people who are struggling. And so doing these sort of joint ventures where you say, hey, we're doing this big campaign, and, a certain percentage for every whatever dollar we receive, a dollar is going to support the local food bank. And you do this, co-promotional thing that's all about supporting, maybe your business, but as well a great cause. Those types of things can really land well in a campaign format right now. Now,
the other thing I did, Kelsey, which may or may not apply, or in some forms may. So when I was running my business, right, we did private tours. Our peak season ran about November through to March, with a real inner peak of sort of mid to late December through to the end of January. So what we did, we had for years, why, I have no idea. We'd been operating as a business. When we took a booking, we took a 20% deposit, or we gave people the opportunity just to secure the booking with their credit card. Which now, if this may sound familiar to a lot of you out there, others might have a more sensible approach. But once we grew, we were doing more than $1 million a year in sales. 1 November, we decided, it came from a meeting with my business development manager, who said, if I book a flight, do I complain because I've got to prepay? Does it stop me from actually making that booking? No, it doesn't. So why aren't we taking full prepayment? So what we did is we didn't say, hey, we're changing things around, we need some cash in our business. But we said, we're making as a company the decision to shift from securing bookings by way of deposit or credit card security to full prepayment. As you've already booked, this obviously doesn't apply to you, but would you like the opportunity to prepay now for the booking you have already made and receive a 5% discount? And we had pretty much, I don't have the exact numbers, but a huge proportion. Now, we would have been holding around 250 bookings at that time. A lot of our bookings came through agents, so the lead time was long. So at the start of November, we were holding around 250 bookings from November 16 through to March 2017. We contacted every single one of them to tell them about this new direction that our business was taking and the shift in payment terms or structure. And a huge percentage came back and said, yeah, sure, absolutely. There's no reason we wouldn't want to prepay anyway. You just didn't ask us to. Sure, we'll take that 5%. And that allowed us to pump that money before peak season hit straight back into our business, which enabled us to go hard to generate more, bandwidth increased, our marketing reach increased, and we were able to just knock it out of the park through that peak season with that big chunk of upfront cash. So if you're doing the same thing at the moment, you might think, people are going to be a little sort of suspicious or skeptical. They might think that we're really hitting on hard times and we just want to try and get as much cash in the business because we're struggling. But it's the magic is in the way that you approach it. So something along the lines of, we as a company are changing our policy and we're moving towards X. As a result, would you like an opportunity to Y? And see what happens. So you may not be holding 250 bookings, but you might be. So something to consider, and a really simple and effective way to get a lot of cash into your business up front, which you can then reinvest back into your business.
I like that you talk too about sometimes like special offers, limited time. The digital tour and product, it doesn't have to be the product itself. It could just be part of that special offer. Say, hey, for anyone who is willing to make a booking for us coming into the future, here's what you'll be eligible for. But again, the time sensitive part, I think is pretty key for the next however long. The same sort of thing happened with, there's a couple of online marketers that I follow pretty closely, and one ran, like a $15 charity challenge. He says, hey, normally I charge a lot for this workshop, but here's what we're going to do. We want to support a good cause. It's going to cost $15 to register, but guess what? We're not taking any of that money. The $15, we wanted a low entry point, so everybody would consider joining. That's all going to go to a local food bank. Well, turns out he led the workshop, and hey, on the back end of the workshop, of course, he was selling his program. So he was really getting a win-win. One, I signed up for it. I thought, hey, this is a great cause. He's offering a great value here, doing something for free. I came to this sort of live event. It was limited time. It was like, hey, you got to register for this date, and then this opportunity is going to be gone. Joined up, and then sure enough, at the back end, when he was offering his product and service in a tasteful way, I'm sure a huge percentage of people ultimately still bought. So that type of creativity, I think could really drive it home. Airbnb is a great example too. Josh, let me just paste. There's a quote here. I just lost it. It says, some of the data since the beginning of the pandemic, over half of Airbnb's bookings are at locations within 200 miles of a customer's location. And so they really shifted some of the way that they were marketing and some of the way they were talking about Airbnb as not just a way to go and experience a new place and maybe have great new connections and a great new home for a short period of time. But, we can be another home that's close to home. So they had a big campaign around when New York was going through that big bubble, for all the nurses and paramedics and people who had to quarantine from their families, but maybe just had small apartments. They did a big push at a reasonable rate. They didn't want to seem like they were gouging people, but they got all kinds of nurses, paramedics, health professionals, frontline workers who were staying with Airbnb, and Airbnb is getting their percentage all the way through. And then that has shifted and expanded to all of those situations that people have where, I live with my family, my kids are going back to school, and my nan is here, and we just don't want to expose her. We're going to temporarily be over here for the next month to see how things goes. So it was just and of course Airbnb did a pivot to online experiences as well. They shut down their in-person experiences, and now they're doing all kinds of innovation and exploration around there. They've done over $2 million, I believe it was, dollars in sales in online experiences since they launched it just a few months ago. And so just a great example of a company looking at how can we generate cash, because clearly Airbnb hugely impacted, just like many tour and activity businesses, but with those pivots, with those focuses on how can we get cash into the business, they've actually been able to do pretty well. And then they're even now looking at doing, going public this year still.
Really
got a couple minutes before you've got to run.
Just one thing that's this is the bottom line is that these ideas may not apply to everyone who's out there listening, but what we want to do is shift your mindset, get you thinking about ways that you can actually find a solution to get as much cash into your business. I'll leave you just with one thought about something that we did, and this was in the lead up. This was like in the last sort of 100-meter sprint over about an 18-month period towards when we were selling our business. We really wanted to make it look as impressive as possible. As a private tour operator, we did a lot of customized tours. We had shied away. We had a lot of inquiries, direct inquiries, that had always asked us whether we could include accommodation and look after that side of things, or whether we recommended somewhere, both regional accommodation in Melbourne. They also ask us a lot about transfers. Do you do airport transfers? Do you do transfers? We've got a trip plan. We're staying at this regional accommodation in X or Y. We'd always steered clear. Operationally, it was a strain and it was laborious. We didn't want to be seen as an accommodation booker or a transfer company. We wanted to focus on what we did well. Margins weren't great. But what we did is we thought, how can we actually take this on, but make it so that, improve the system so that it wasn't a strain on operations? How can we actually negotiate with some accommodation providers to get some good margins? So, can we get a 20% commission? We hadn't actually ever approached it in a really thorough way. So we did some good deals. We got some good arrangements in place with a range of accommodations. We worked out in our back end how we could actually run transfers, make money from them, they could and tie them in to the tours that we were running, and we put some deep thought into the back end operational process. Bottom line, for a period of time, we started promoting, recommending, and booking accommodation for a whole range of direct inquiries. And obviously, on the top end, revenue wise, that dramatically increased the revenue per file for some of our customized tours. And of course, some of these accommodations we're offering as a 20-25% commission, which of course trickled down really nicely onto our bottom line. So that was a really simple way, not pulling apart our experiences, not rebuilding, not iterating, just adding some common sense features to what we were offering, and seeing some really good revenue. So obviously it took some real thought about how it wouldn't impact the rest of what we were doing, but that was a really simple way, simple features that added more revenue with some well negotiated commissions attached to them. But I've really got to sign off. I've got a bit of a hard stop this morning, guys.
No problem. I'm going to just share the last notion on customer referrals, but if you want to jet, I'll sign it off.
It's been fun as always.
Okay, awesome, Josh. The last thing I wanted to say was, when you're thinking about your customer referrals, let's just see if we still got, Josh just put down his camera. That's awesome. Okay, I'll just hide it. He didn't actually exit the window there. There we go. I wonder if I should mute it too. We'll hear Josh and his family arguing and that sort of stuff. There we go. Okay. Customer referrals. So there are basically 3 core rules to drive customer referrals. And here I'm really thinking about if you do have some type of online tour or experience right now, customer referrals are the cheapest way to get more sales. That, and obviously reselling, come up with new products, new services, new online experiences to sell to those who have already bought from you. So the 3 rules, I just typed them there in the chat for customer referrals. 1, ensure you've got a product, a service, an experience that's worth referring. That is the most obvious. You need to be continually iterating. In our virtual tour business program, I'll post that link in one more time. We've got all kinds of best practices on how you can create a really, really vibrant online experience, and tons of best practices from other people who are doing this well, and lots of like don't lists, like don't do this. Like if your online tour experience can be compared to passively watching a YouTube video or passively watching a documentary, you're doing it wrong. So we have a really thorough methodology and step-by-step instructions on how to create great online experiences. That's the first thing. You got to make sure whatever your product or service is, make sure that it's worth referring. And this applies equally to any in-person services that you might be offering right now, maybe to locals or the customers who are coming in. 2, ask 100% of your customers for referrals 100% of the time. So I'll say it one more time. Ask 100% of your customers for referrals 100% of the time. And this is something that in our business, the Online Tourism Academy, like we're not doing a good job of this. We've flagged it. We know that we want to do better on this, is at least planting that seed. Now, of course, not everybody is going to run out and refer 2 or 3 people, and then you have this nice exponential growth curve. But the key point is here that you're planting that seed. You're asking for that referral or recommendation to a friend or peer 100% of the time. And if you can find a way to systematize that, when you see those 2 numbers like that, you're thinking, okay, we probably want a system, so I don't have to think about doing this. And that is quickly how you can drive more referrals, is just by asking all of the time and have a system to do it so that it doesn't fall through the cracks. And thirdly is to make it easy to refer. That's basically it. Have something that's amazing, that is worthy of referral, that you're continually improving. 2, ask everyone who is a customer for referral 100% of the time. Try and have a system for it. And 3, make it easy to refer. You know, what many of our online tours and experiences, it's like a simple link. It's direct to the sales page. It might even be included in that ask for referral. You know, make it easy. Here's a template email, or here's the link to send people. Make it easy. Remove as many obstacles as possible. And, you know, additional ideas are, of course, to create an incentive, whether it's like maybe give 10% off, get 10% off. There's lots of incentives that you can do, but they're not actually necessary. If you're looking for, again, thinking in terms of this cash campaign, maybe we could have a referral campaign right now. This works super well with online tours and experiences, but as well, who are those people who, for those of us who are operating right now, who is coming in right now, and can we get them to refer more people like themselves? The last thing I'll leave you with is this great discovery that we have somebody in the virtual tour business program who's doing online experiences in Bucharest. And what he was surprised by was it was actually a lot of the sort of local market who were coming on, who were taking that time to learn about a little bit more about their city, joining some of the social experiences that his tour company was hosting so they could bring their friends, bring their family. And anyway, when he was interviewing those customers afterwards, asking about how their experience was, how it could be better, he actually found that they were interested in having online experiences from other places around the world, but they were coming to him to say, hey, is there anyone that you could refer us to? Or actually, you know, it was great doing a couple experiences to learn more, obviously, about Bucharest. We love you. We love being able to support this local business. But then he reached out to other people in the program. And so now he is offering essentially other online tours to his existing customers. Now, in his case, this is Doru in Bucharest, his customer base happened to be local, but it would apply equally well to, let's say, my customer base. If I'm doing online tours or experiences, they might be from different parts of the world, but they know me, they trust me or my team. They're coming and doing these great experiences, having a great time. if I can introduce them to somebody else's great online tour experience, maybe a tour over in Tuscany or in Rome. I often talk about this notion of being in Rome right now. Like, how incredible would that be? Because there's just no tourists, right? Like, it would just be amazing to be able to be having a virtual experience there right now with a guide, because, you know, gosh, getting to see the fountains and all the incredible architecture without the throngs of people, even if it is still through a screen. So you can imagine here how referring other people's products and services can be a key part of this strategy and can really help you drive cash in the short term, especially if it's a focused campaign. So as a quick reminder, the topic that we covered today was this notion of a 60-day cash campaign, where we're going to put a lot of what you're, if this makes sense for you, you will ultimately be the judge. Take a lot of what you're doing, just put it on hold for the moment, because there are very few things more important than having that cash in your business. It is the lifeblood. It will, allow you to extend your runway. It may allow you to persevere in this business. And so a focused effort. We hope that you got some ideas from this video, from some of the cash campaigns that Josh has done in the past. And we'd love to support you in creating an online tour experience, because it really can be one of the fastest ways to get an influx of cash. We'd love to help you out. So we'll leave it there. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining. If you're here in the replay, type a comment below, share some of the thoughts, share some of the things that are working for you. We're definitely stronger together. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you.